Yeah, I lied to everyone. And I remember the only person I ever told was my brother Joey, you know? And I remember trying to adopt, like looking for a man to like accept me. Like, hey, can you be my dad? Like, please, like, oh, I'll be your son. Like, can you be my dad? I remember doing that. Welcome to 45 in the Hour podcast. I'm your host, Colt 45, and I'm here with Eric.
The Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight, he said it was.
What's up?
What's up, brother?
Hello. I'm good, dude.
It's been a day. It's been a morning.
Like, good morning.
Good morning, man. We're pretty happy this morning. So
we got Ghost here today, and we're accompanied.
The company, he's a ghost.
Representing Lancaster today.
Can't see him. He's behind the big monitor. No, it's good. It's going to be a good podcast, guys. It's an interesting one today. So typically we get into some feedback here between me and Eric talking about all kinds of bullshit. But
going back and forth.
We're going to jump right into this one because this one may be a longer one than usual. So, guys, today we have a special guest. It's a guest that I brought up a few times in my own podcast, which actually led me to my actual healing journey, which has been pretty good for me. And it's definitely taken me to new heights, and I've been able to help people along the way, many people, through this journey of healing and transitioning out of the military and transitioning from having a parent that transitioned to be a female, which is a little different. And it's a little unorthodox in our past history, but now it's more accepted than it was then. Which leads me into my guest. And my guest is actually my dad. And my dad now has a new name. And her name is Lisa Foster. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, son. Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
We're happy to have you. So I'm a little nervous right now, unfortunately.
I can tell.
So usually I speak pretty fast and stuff, but I'm just trying to figure out what to say. And like, I have questions and I have things I want answered and stuff. But I think the best thing to do is just to get us comfortable, you know, because everything that's led this podcast to become what it is today is led from feelings and trying to understand. And that's kind of where we got today.
Yeah, if you follow the podcast today, I feel like today is like a season finale. Like it's a big
this is like a season finale, pretty much.
Me. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. It's all about healing, and
absolutely,
this is kind of why we're here. So, I kind of want to get into like who you are and like where you came from. I want everyone to know a little background here, just a quick background, where you came from, how you grew up. Poor family, middle class family. I mean, I know all this stuff, but I want you to explain it. And
explain it to me. I want to hear it.
Yeah. Eric's been, everyone's wanting to know. So how was Lisa's history growing up? And then like, what jobs did you have? And then kind of end right before your transitioning phase.
Sure. So I was born in the 60s. So back then, things were quite a bit different than they are now. I remember the first TV in the family. The phones were what they call party lines. So it was quite a bit different world back then.
Wait, what's a party line?
I can go into that, but I don't know that you have time.
No, that's fine.
It's just the old system. So I was raised by my mom and dad initially. My mom and my father both have passed on. My father very recently. Maybe you could talk about that. But
Grandpa Bob.
Yeah. So
yeah.
God bless him. But as I grew up, I had I had an average childhood. I have a brother, and he and I played together and did the typical things that two brothers would do. We moved around, and then at some point in my life, my mother and father decided they couldn't live together anymore. So they parted ways when I was in either kindergarten or first grade. So they parted ways. We moved to Canoga Park,
okay,
where I was continuing my education in grammar school. And the earthquake back then, the 71 earthquake occurred. And my mother had remarried another man. And we moved to Canoga Park to get away from that situation. After the earthquake, it scared them enough to move to
Grandma was married before Grandpa Bob?
She was. Not before.
Or after Grandpa Bob, but before Grandpa Leo?
No. I'm sorry if I'm confusing things.
Okay. I'm just trying to understand the story.
My mother was married twice. She was married to my father, Bob, and then she remarried a gentleman by the name of Leo.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we moved to Simi, and that's what brought me to Simi Valley, which is where I live to this day. But there's a lot between all that. We moved to Simi. I went to all the local high school, or grammar schools, high school, middle school, high school. And then I started my working career at 15 years old, 15 and a half, with a restaurant as a busboy. Identified as a male back then and everything like that. But so then I decided I needed to get away from home. I needed to grow up. So I decided I'd join the United States Army.
How old were you? 17 when you got in?
I was 17 when I enlisted, but they had what they called the delayed entry program, so I had to finish my high school. So I graduated midterm. I don't recommend that for you folks out there in YouTube land because I missed out on a lot of things.
Yeah.
But I did go in the military back in 1978.
Wow.
Yeah. I served proudly for 3 years. My station was in Hanau, Germany. My MOS, as we call it in the Army, was a 63F10, which was recovery specialist. So I was in charge of picking up any vehicles that would break down out in the war zone or just everyday use, all the way up to M60 tanks back in the day. They were called M60, not M1A1s as they are now. So that was quite a growing up experience. I missed home, stationed in Europe, but there was some good experiences. I mean, I don't mean to say it was all bad. So once I served my time, I got out and I almost immediately started working for Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, which is where I retired. But in between that, I became a Los Angeles police officer.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And 383 was my class, which stands for March of 1983. I went through the academy 6 months.
Was it right before I was born?
Yeah. It was a very good experience. I mean, I'm not really good at the riding skills, but I can get by. So I passed everything. I was a good shot. I was good physically. I was number 2 in the class, 3 in the class. Wow. Physically. My son takes after me in that. And so I did all that. And within a year, I got a call from the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. They wanted to promote me to another position that paid more than I was getting paid as a police officer. So all the writing that they had back in the day with the police department, all the reports and such, got to me because I struggled with that. I have to get the dictionary out and write, and then the bad guys get out before I'm even done with the reports. But I got a lot of experience there. I got to see people of importance. I got to see people that were bad. Got to drive as fast as I wanted to drive. All the kind of things you might think were fun. There's downsides to it too, and you see the really ugly part of the world too. So I took the opportunity that Water and Power offered.
Is that the only reason you got out? Was it just the writing, or
Yeah. I was doing wonderfully. As a matter of fact, when I gave my resignation to my commander, he said, "If you want to come back, please see me. We'd love to have you." So I left on good terms. So I went back to Water and Power as what they call an electrical craft helper. That's working alongside the lineman type people that work on the power lines, keep your power going. I promoted at some point to what they call a line maintenance assistant, and that's what I retired as. That's after 34 years of service. Now, the jobs that I did for Water and Power were work on the power lines, climb those steel towers. You're going through the desert and such, going up on those towers, going out on the conductor, anything you can imagine to make those repairs. I was involved with that. I went as far as to actually, during the A1 earthquake, I went up on a tower right after the earthquake had happened, and I had to place what they call the grounds on the conductor. And I was one tower away from one that was sitting on the ground. So that was kind of a bit scary. I felt an aftershock while I was up there. I was going, is this tower going to collapse with me on it?
Wow.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So moving forward to my retirement after I hit age 55 with Water and Power, you can retire with 30 and 55 at age 55 with full benefits. So that's what I did. So then I became a school bus driver. And coincidentally, my mother and my father both were school bus drivers. And that's what I do to this day. I'm also a school bus instructor. So I went to school in Sacramento to become an instructor.
Very cool.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, that's been my career life.
So now you're a school bus instructor.
/ driver.
/
drive as well. So
you have a Class A. You have a pretty big background, believe it or not. You're a veteran.
I am.
A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah. Police officer. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Pretty wide range of employment.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Retired 3 years in the military, or got out 3 years at the rank of general. Amazing, actually amazing.
5 or sergeant.
Oh, that's still pretty good in 3 years.
No, goodness, no, it wasn't in 3 years. No. I did 3 years active, and then I did a bunch of reserve time.
Reserve.
I got my promotion as sergeant in
reserve time.
Reserve time, yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
How much reserve time? Just like another 4 years?
I think altogether I had 9 years of active service between my 3 years active and 3 in additional.
I didn't even know that.
You don't know a lot of things.
I know. That's why I'm here. That's the best part of the podcast.
I grew up in Canoga.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. That's locals.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we are. We're all native to this area.
So getting into the next subject, which is the juicy part, which everyone's wondering, okay? And we'll get into some other topics. But how did you get into, like, wanting to transition? Like, I want you to go back to when you were, let's just start as a child.
Okay.
I want to know when that feeling came when you were like, I don't know what's going on here, but I don't feel like the person that I was born to be. I want to know, like, what that felt like. I want to know when that happened, like when those feelings came. Mm-hmm. I want to know actions that led up to it. I remember you were talking about Halloween where you dressed up like a lady.
No, that's not correct. But
or some sort of story like that. Okay. Yeah. I want to hear it.
Sure. So the earliest recollection I have is looking in a mirror and trying on some of my mother's makeup in the bathroom. That was the first thing. And as a young child, that's just a curiosity.
Like what age? Like 5?
5-ish, around that age. You know, who knows? I was very young. I just remember looking in the mirror. And those kind of feelings just stayed with me throughout my life. And I tried with all my might to push it away. Later in life, you get more exploring and more trying. And why am I feeling this way? I don't know. I remember my parents, my mom in particular, sending me to a therapist one time because she knew what was going on. I didn't know she knew, but she sent me to a therapist.
How did she know?
She didn't tell me. I'll tell you later. There's a little bit more to that. But she sent me to a therapist, and I went to this therapist not knowing why I was going there. I thought maybe it was because family problems or whatever.
How old were you?
Oh, gosh. The ages kind of elude me at that point. Okay. But I went to this therapist. I believe it was a man. And he says, what have you come here for? Talk to me. And I go, I'm not going to tell you my deepest, darkest secrets. I don't know you from Adam. Right. But I'm fine. He says, okay, bye. And that basically was the end of that therapy session, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't until later in life, before I transitioned, that I went to my mom because I was struggling so badly with it that I said, on a drive with my mom, I says, Mom, I just feel like a girl. And she goes, I know. And it floored me. It actually floored me.
Like it made you mad or accept
No. It didn't make me mad.
Oh, you accepted it?
No. I just told her how I felt. And she said that, and I go, well, how long have you known? She says, always. Mm-hmm. And then I asked her in follow-up question, I said, well, why didn't you do anything? Why didn't you talk? She said, I sent you to a therapist. And I go, oh, well, that was not much, So I thought I had it hidden a lot better than I actually did, okay? But before that and after that is when I went in the military, the police department, and all these other things, trying to man up, you might say. Mm-hmm. I was trying to do the most masculine things. At the time, you don't think about that, but on hindsight, I think that's what I was doing, trying to make myself more of a man, all right? And as hard as I tried, I just couldn't. I was struggling so bad at one point that I really didn't want to live anymore. I contemplated it. I thought about how I might do it. It's bad mojo. And I went to therapy for the way my feelings were for years. I remember, I was married to a woman, and she was so upset with me. She says, you keep going to therapists that don't tell you the truth. And I go, what do you want me to go to a Christian therapist? So I said, okay. I went to a Christian therapist. And I'm not joking. This therapist told me, I've never said this to anybody else before. This is the truth. I think you should go ahead with it.
Go ahead with what?
Transitioning. Living your life as a female. So I just kept putting roadblocks in my way. You kids were a major one. I loved you with all my heart. The last thing I ever want to do is hurt my children. It wasn't your fault you came into the world with an individual that's broken like I was, okay? The best analogy I can give anybody about how I was feeling is if you're right or left-handed, take that good arm or hand and tie it to your side or your back just for an hour and be forced to use nothing but your offhand. Now, if you're ambidextrous, this doesn't apply, but use your offhand. Feel how awkward that feels. You just feel wrong. Everything feels wrong. I felt that every waking
I like that analogy.
every waking hour for the most part, unless I was distracted, like climbing a tower, doing something scary, or a police work, or something that took all of my attention. That was the only time I got relief. And when I got widowed, my wife had passed.
Like Karen, your second one.
When Karen got well and passed away, I found myself sitting at home, despondent, suicidal, unhappy with life, and I just had this nagging feeling that I've had all my life, and I said, I can't live the rest of my life like this. I can't do it. And so I had tried many times to transition, as you well know. I told you kids at a very young age how I felt, and it was devastating to you. And I want to say this publicly, I'm so sorry for that.
You have nothing to be sorry about.
I do, because you didn't come into this life and deserve that, okay? And I wasn't strong enough to keep it together, and I'm sorry. But I'm happy now. I'm so thankful that you and your sister are in my life. It brings me joy you can't even imagine. So, but at that point in my life, sitting at home, I just came to this realization that in order for me to be a productive human being, to be a happy human being, and to have any chance of a relationship with anybody, you included, I had to do this. And I took a big leap because I thought I could lose you. And I did for a time. You were so upset about that, and I don't blame you. And it hurt me deeply that I'd done that to you. But I remember that when you came to me and said, I forgive you, and told everybody on the internet and everything, I don't want to cry in front of everybody right now, but it meant the world to me. Thank you for that, okay? I don't want to take up all your podcast time.
No. There's no time. You say whatever you want for as long as you want. Yeah. That's the point of this, is to get the best message.
I don't know what else you want to know right now.
No, you're good. You're doing fine. I want to elaborate on a few things. So
certainly. And I've told you that anything's open. You can ask any question.
Of course.
I have a couple questions too.
Of course. So I want you to know that I relate to you. So I have the same feeling that you do, and obviously, like, that's what we're not much different, and that's what I realized when I did that post. That post that I did back in, I think it was 2020 or whenever we had that thing at Sheena's house. I remember I did that post, and that was my way. Because at first I said, no, I don't want Lisa to be there. I don't want Lisa to be there, because I was in hate mode. Hate. That's how I dealt with my whole fucking life. It's just anger.
Right.
Anger. And I didn't know where the anger was coming from. But now that I know it's just a check engine light that's flashing. And there's something wrong underneath the hood. And that's how I think of it now when I get angry. And I just know that there's something underneath the hood, and it's not someone else's problem for someone else that created a problem for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That feeling comes from somebody else. But what I mean by relating is I've never had like something, I can never do something on like a lower end. It always had to be extreme or like nothing at all. And I don't know how to I've never really learned how to, modify like a middle ground with that. That's why when I was at a young age, I got into like street gangs and
extremes,
and and then like the Marine Corps,
another extreme, yeah.
And then getting into motorcycle clubs, big 1%er clubs like the Hells Angels and stuff, trying to find brotherhood.
It scared me to death, by the way.
Yeah. I was in a military club too called the Marines. But the point is I was always trying to be the tough guy. I was trying to be this guy that I just wasn't. And I'm a tough man. I'm a strong man. But you don't need to be a physically tough guy. I thought that was like my armor. That was my shield. Like,
yes, sir.
I could kick anyone's ass. I'm willing to do whatever it takes, because I don't want to feel like I'm a lady. I don't want to feel like, because of how you came at it. And I think that after studying everything now and processing everything, the reasons why I had so much anger wasn't because you transitioned. It was because I didn't have a parent, because you were so lost, which wasn't your fault, by the way. You were so confused about yourself that you really couldn't focus on anything else. And I forgive you for that, because I understand now, because I can't focus on it. I couldn't focus on anything else because I wasn't healed. So now I relate to you. So you did different things, like you were doing crazy things like I was. We're the same. Water and power, you wanted to go be a cop. You wanted to put yourself in positions to where there was risk involved. Mm-hmm. And I did risky behavior my whole life. Everything I did was risky. Whether it was with, the Marine Corps, or like trying to do things that were just so on the borderline of
the Hells Angels.
just so on the borderline of just, I mean, the Marine Corps itself is probably crazier than that. I mean, I went through more shit with that.
You would
know
know
what I
better
mean?
than I don't.
But even then, I mean, there was just so much that I can just relate now. And now I understand. I understand now. But then I didn't. And I understand why you didn't want to tell us until I was like 13, 14, 15. I remember the meeting that we had at Great Grandpa's house where we drove down to LA.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, I'm tired of hiding this from you. You're going to know. And I was like, no, what? She's like, I have to show you. And I remember walking in there and I remember sitting with you and I remember you talking to me. It's crazy because I can't remember anything in my life, but I remember the most passionate, intense feelings. And that's how our memories work, is things that are the most emotional we remember the most.
Right.
And I remember when you told me, I remember you had longer hair and you had your nails growing out and stuff. And I was, the only reason I was upset at you, it wasn't that you became a woman or wanted to become a woman. It was because I didn't have a dad. That was the part that like killed me. It's like, I didn't have a dad. And it wasn't because you couldn't be a dad, it's because you couldn't be a parent. And I think that was the problem that I really wished I had, but I don't think it was your fault. So it's like a weird mixture of like, because, and I'm telling you this from the truth, because how are you supposed to know where you are? How are you supposed to know who you are if you don't know where you're going? How are you supposed to lead as a man if that's not in your genetics, like as you're
I can't
born.
Explain that, but
Correct. And so I understand that. But now I know, like for me, like my father is God. Like I know that I have a father. I know that I have a dad. But the last thing I want to lose or not lose is a parent. I don't want to lose a parent. Like I barely have you. I have you now as a parent. And my mom is there and she's back and forth
You have
because of her stuff. I do have my mom.
We
and
all have our struggles, so.
But it's my whole life's been just floored with, a lot of emotions, and I've hit it all. Because I never wanted to like address it. I was like, nope, you can't be that way. Nope, because then you're a bitch. You're a pussy. Nope, you can't do that, because if you feel like you're a pussy, if you have emotion, then guess what? You're going to be judged.
That's not manly, right?
Right, because and I remember lying. I lied my whole life about you. I told people you were in prison.
It's easier to explain.
Yeah, because I lied to everyone, and I remember the only person I ever told was my brother Joey. And I remember trying to adopt, like looking for a man to like accept me, like hey, can you be my dad? Like please, like I'll be your son. Like can you be my dad? I remember doing that, and then when I got in the Marine Corps is really what changed me, because the Marine Corps taught me brotherhood. Brotherhood was really the thing.
That's why you find yourself drawn back to that all the time.
Yeah. But I did a post yesterday about jiu-jitsu and how like every single brotherhood I attached myself to, I'm not associated with anymore. I don't do it. And the only brotherhood that I'm still in is the brotherhood of jiu-jitsu. Because in jiu-jitsu, I feel like a lot of people in jiu-jitsu come from different walks of life. They're all struggling with something, whether it's, weight loss, whether it's self-esteem issues, whether it's, wanting to get beat up or beat other people up because they have anger problems. I could relate to that. But jiu-jitsu conforms you and it kind of humbles you.
Well, I did karate back when I was young too. So.
Yeah.
Any martial art, any self-discipline is you are working on yourself. And we all find that in order to become better people, we have to go inward and just like work from ground zero, like you said, under the hood. Once that individual becomes better overall. Not easy. Can't take a pill for that. Can't read a book, or you can keep reading books. But like we found it's a combination of physical, emotional, like all of it. And this is what we get out of our training.
Right. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just trying to take all this in.
Karate. Some questions?
Yeah. Let me go back real quick. Colt, you said you were 13 now when this was all going on?
It was between 13 and 15, I think. Right?
Mm-hmm.
When we went to
me, I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
That was
right.
a great grandpa passed away.
Mm-hmm. And then how long did you?
But I remember one thing. So to touch on that, I don't want to forget about this other memory that I had. I remember when I was like 5 years old. I remember somewhere around there. I walked into the bathroom and you had always been sitting down. I'd walk in the restroom and I always see you sitting down, using the restroom. And I never understood it because you never used to stand like I did. And I remember that was like something that like kind of always like stuck with me. I was like, but why? I was like, I don't understand. Like. And like it was just like something I remember. And I remember you always being upset when you were married to my mom because of the way you felt, because you couldn't be your actual self. And so I understand that now, because I always lived a lie. Because I always knew that, like, now I know that being your true authentic self is like the only way to live. It's the only way, because love ain't lies. So if your truth is out there, then you feel 100% accepted, and you're going to be accepted by those people that love you no matter what. And the people that don't love you wouldn't have loved you either way. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you got to be and you got to live your true authentic self. So if anyone's out there thinking like, man, I'm alone, you know, I don't want you to feel alone. Like, be yourself.
No,
You know?
please don't be.
Yeah. Regardless of like how you feel. You know, we don't get to choose, you know, our parents, we don't get to choose like how we're brought up, but what we do get to choose is how we love that person or love those people. And I don't think that.
And how they love you.
Correct. Yeah. This is all positive stuff. I'm happy. I'm working towards like 100% healing. You know, I think we're always working towards something, but I think that overall, I think healing just comes from accepting, you know, and understanding. And I think that I didn't understand. But going back to that instance when I was 5, I remember I used to wet the bed every day. I don't know if you remember that. I used to piss my bed all the time.
Your Uncle Jim had a problem with that too.
Yeah, and I think
Sorry, Jim.
Yeah. he's like
I outed it. That's his.
calling you out, bro.
That's Jim's Colt's uncle.
Yeah.
My brother.
So I remember pissing my bed every day when I was 5 because I was afraid of my dad. Because he used to get really angry, and I remember
I did.
some things used to happen with the dog. I remember he took Charlie and Champ, our dogs, and
I
he
don't remember
put the
that.
rest.
Golly.
Yeah.
I do remember your sister playing with the TV, and I was tired. I got home from work, and she kept turning it off. She wanted my attention, and I smacked her hand. That was the only time I ever laid hands on my daughter, and to this day, it bothers me. And if you're watching this, Sheena, it still bothers me, and I know you say don't worry about it.
Yeah. And I just remember, I remember the house like very vividly, like very clear for the most part. But I just remember like, you know, wetting the bed till I was like 5. And then all of a sudden, all those things that were going on in the house, and then you and my mom like separated.
Mm-hmm.
And I promise you, the day that you left, I stopped pissing the bed. It was the day after. And my mom had asked me like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah. What do you mean? She's like, well, you didn't wet your bed this morning. And from then on, I never wet it again. And I'm not sure what it was, but they're like, kids can feel that there's something wrong in the family dynamic. They can understand pain. They can feel it.
I want to ask you one question. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Do you remember some of the fun things that we did together?
Yeah, getting into that.
I know the bad things are what we want to talk about, and I understand that completely. But I remember taking you in that Honda, the buggy that I had, up in Vasquez Rocks, or there about. I don't remember where it was exactly. I remember you and I going hiking up at the base of Whitney. I remember, what else? Those are some of the key things I remember. I remember having some really good times with you. I wish there were many, many more.
The things that I remember the most with you and the things that resonate the most with me are hiking and like climbing.
Yeah.
Because that was like literally like what I remember the most from childhood. I remember going to like swap meets. I remember like you introducing me to church. I just remember not really having like a grasp on it.
Remember you accepted the Lord when you were young.
Yeah. And I think I did that to make you proud.
And
I don't think I did
I understand
it
that
because I
now,
understood
but
that.
I'm just saying that at the time, and it's still to this day, makes me want to cry because I know that you and I will be in heaven together.
Yeah. Yeah, we will be. I believe that. I remember the church. I remember it was like really old. It was up there in
Yeah,
Fort Lauderdale
it's Little Rock.
stuff. Yeah. I just remember not really like ever getting into it. I never could be my actual self.
Can you
I felt
believe
like.
they let me preach in that church from time to time?
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Wow. I had no idea.
It was a heavy duty responsibility trying to represent the Word of God.
Yeah. I think that's what makes us have more peace is when we put it all into Him.
Absolutely.
And we just choose to love Him over anything. And when we start feeling hate in our heart, we just put it onto Him. And that's what I do. And that's why I was talking about the power of choosing earlier this week. I was, putting it on social media and whatnot. But the power of choice is the most powerful thing that we actually have. If you're going to go through life and you're struggling with something, and for me, it was always struggling with denial and not being accepted as just being a man that had a dad that had, wanted to transition. Because at the time, be honest with you, I mean, early 2000s, even before that, it wasn't really accepted. It wasn't. It was kind of taboo to be transgender, and
It still is. It still is in certain circles. Okay. I have
way
to be
more
careful.
accepted.
If I tried to go to Dubai right now, they'd kill me.
Really,
Oh yeah,
that's a fact.
they'd put me in prison and kill me.
Wow, I had no idea.
Hmm.
So that's
That's
the
not
part.
the only place in the world. It's like
So that's where I come from, and this is probably a lot of friends don't know this about me, but like we don't get to choose who our family is. We don't get to choose how people become. We don't get to choose whether our family's gay, lesbian, transgender. Coming from a background with a parent that is transgender, I'm very sensitive to it, and we're in the military. We used to crack jokes,
All the time.
like, oh, shut up,
yeah,
you
yeah.
fag,
Yeah, all the time.
and stupid shit like that. And like, well, what do you got? What do you got? A pussy in your legs? Like just stupid shit. And like that's just
I did it too in the military.
yeah. So
It was
like,
the thing.
but for me, like to me, it's normal. Like I hear those jokes and I can resonate with it, like the humor of it. But then at the same time, it's like it kind of
It hits you differently.
It hits me a little differently.
I could see that. Yeah.
And so like anyone can say anything they want about, oh yeah, transgenders or this or that, like gays and lesbian or this and that. But let's just point out the facts. Like no one understands like how they feel. No one gets to choose how they feel. Like you feel the way you feel, and that's your actual self. And
Well,
if
let
we
me
want
just
to
say-
talk about actual healing,
One thing I want to put out there is I'm not asking anybody to accept me. I do not ask. You don't have to accept me, but I do ask that you don't hate me without knowing me. Okay, the road I've chosen is not the road for most people. Okay.
well, I want to thank you for waiting as long as you did. In a way, I know it probably sounds worse because I wish you would have done it earlier for yourself so that you could have lived the most honest life you could have. But you waited till you were in your 50s.
Yes, I did. I was 50.
That's super honorable. Like you literally like you waited as long as you could, let us kids grow up, and then you were like, okay, I have to do this. I have to. And at first I was selfish. I was honestly selfish. I remember when I heard about it, I was selfish, and I was taken back. But it was something that I was dealing with because I wanted this figment of a dad that was like that had taught me how to shave, that had taught me how to like
Right.
do all these things,
Right.
and like taught me how to be a man. I don't want to have to learn it through the streets and all these other things. The wrong ways to be a man, like.
Right.
The wrong ways to accept love and stuff like that, and just make all these mistakes. So I had to learn a different way. But that was probably the only thing that I regret. Other than that, like I accept everything that happened now. Like I'm completely okay with it. I feel okay. Like me talking about it, like I'll tell the world in public now. Like it doesn't
do.
bother me.
You do.
I personally don't care what anyone thinks about me now because I feel so good about it. So that's how we relate. Like how you relate in public is like, hey, this is who I am, accept me or not. It's the exact same way
Why
I
not put
relate.
it out there in their face? They
I
ask
don't.
me.
Correct. Yeah, I don't put it out there in their face.
Sometimes when I'm driving my school buses, the little ones are the most innocent, right? They'll go, "How come your voice sounds like a man?" And I simply tell them, they don't need to know all the detail. I just tell them, "Well, this is the voice God gave me. Is that okay?" And they usually go, "It's okay, okay." Those kids are so innocent and sweet. If you give them an explanation that makes sense to them, they're good.
Yeah.
And I don't lie to them. That's exactly what it is. It's the voice I was given.
I just wish that I could have been there for you during your times. I wish I would have known.
Goes both ways.
And I honestly think that maybe, and this is crazy to say now, but I think that my childhood would have been better if you had transitioned at an earlier age.
Well, it didn't happen, and we're moving on from here.
Only because, and I this is all with love, I feel like you would have been more like, okay, this is me, and I would have been like, okay, I would have grown into that, and then we would have had more time instead of like so much butting heads. But talking about positive stuff,
Yeah.
we went to Mount Whitney together. We went on a hike. There's a couple things that I never forgot. I remember.
The bugs.
I don't remember the bugs. I just remember getting up super early,
Yeah.
and it was like 4:00 in the morning or something, and you got me up, and I'm not a morning person.
No, he's not.
Yeah, I've never been, man. I just can't. I can't adapt to the mornings. And I remember Lisa got me up. We went out, and I was like, we got up to like some lake,
Yep.
and then we had to turn back for some reason. I can't remember. I don't even remember the story, but
The bugs were terrible. The bugs were eating us alive.
so the reason why I bring that up is because that's something that I still want to do. I think we should do it together.
Yeah.
I think we should summit Mount Whitney together. And I think that we should
That
do
would
it.
be a good goal.
That'd be
If
awesome.
I could make it happen, I will.
That'd be
Okay?
amazing.
I
Yeah.
need to have the time to practice, though, and I hopefully will retire soon, and I'll have a lot more time to work on those kind of things.
Maybe we'll figure it out in a year or something.
All right.
We'll have like a goal.
All
But
right.
that was, I think that's like the finale.
I would
the
love to be
piece.
standing
Be at the
up
top, taking a picture of the, you know what I mean?
There's
That'd
a
be
shed
really
up
cool.
there you and I holding the book or whatever they have up there and say we made it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool.
But yeah, just, I remember all that stuff. I remember all the swap meets. Remember
You
going
ever
to-
let him ask his question?
Oh, yeah. Ask your question.
No,
there you
no,
go.
I mean, and as
I'm sorry.
and as
No, you're
we've gone
good.
on, the questions have been answered.
Okay, good.
But I also, for both of you, I feel like a very, I was thinking in my mind like the best way to say it, but it is already like something that we say is about forgiveness, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Right? Like,
Yeah.
it is not something that like I'm going to hold on to judgment forever. You got to meet the person where they are right now and go forward. And
Judge not, admit.
go ahead.
Judge not. You'd be judged by the same measure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I could say a whole bunch of stuff about you, but in turn, I open myself up for all the stuff that I have. Right? Where nobody here is a perfect person.
Nope.
And until you work on yourself, like you don't get deserve to cast a stone. And I feel like both of you guys are like right there with each other, like the versions that you've become and you worked on, and now you're meeting each other as like now you are a man, and Lisa, like now you are Lisa, and it's like, okay, like boom, how do we, where are we the same, where are we different? And looking at you guys right now, I can see like a resemblance,
Yeah.
Sorry.
I look
No,
90%
you're a handsome
like,
young man.
I look like my mom, more like,
I'm proud. When I show your picture to folks, they go, dang, you got a good looking son.
oh my God.
Colt likes that.
Don't see what's coming from. No, yeah, this is good. Sorry, I'm usually not speechless, but
It's okay, son.
yeah, just trying to figure it out.
I feel good. Thank you guys for letting me be in the room for this. This is cool. Like,
I look at you as you're the people out there watching this. You're the speaker for that. You're the one that if you have any questions,
Oh, the mic. I can hear you. Yeah.
you would be the one to speak for the people that are watching this as an outsider.
yeah, and I don't know too many transgenders, but I knew a couple. Maybe about 4 or 5 in my life, right? And each person is so different. There's no like one size fits all to any of this, to any of this life that we live, So I'm just, taken aback. And it's a beautiful thing. Cool. Like, I know this is a very much a part of like how you had to come up, how you became, but also when you became your person, you also, okay, let me go to work on myself, let me get rid of the things that I don't need. I don't need hate. I don't need resentment, and you really put this podcast together. And like, it's cool. Like, you get to make peace where a lot of people will never get to make peace, right? And that's just to boost you up and to become a better person.
I used to hate the jeans. I used to always worry about like the jeans that you guys gave me, or like you did.
Not contagious. Sorry.
Right. So I used to think that it was contagious, but now I'm glad for the jeans because like both you and my mom are like extremely hard working people. You guys have crazy work ethic. You can do anything. I mean, I just remember the things that my mom did when she was younger. Like, she was the poorest fucking lady in the world. She couldn't pay anything. She always made it work. Always.
I can't wrong your mom.
I don't even know how the hell she ever did it, but she always made it work on top of driving, at 4 a.m. to pick us up and drive 45 minutes back to Simi Valley and then deal with me as a shithead growing up and then trying to raise my sister and then trying to take me and become a man. And, because I didn't have like you were there, but it was just different. And then dealing with that and then, trying to make us good people. And man, she did a kick-ass job. She really tried.
If your mom's watching this, I want to say publicly, thank you. I'm sorry that I wasn't there to support you, but you raised some amazing young people that I'm proud of. And I know it's mostly because of you and not me. I'm sorry things aren't better, but I just want to say thank you.
That was huge. My mom forgives you, and I love my mom, and I know she's working on it. She's come a long way, and I'm thankful for everything that she did to do what she had to do, and I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for you because if it wasn't the things that God chose me to be the offering, that's what I believe now, because the things that you did growing up were for you, but you just didn't do it at the time that you should have. You were waiting and you were confused, and then I became confused and I had to live my own life. But now I see it as like a benefit, like everything that happened to me, how I was raised, how I was brought up, in the environments I was, made me the man that I am today. If it wasn't for that, none of this would exist. I literally don't think that there would be businesses. I don't think that there would be people that really love me, that value me. I don't think that I would have tight relationships. There's some things that I wish I didn't have, though. I wish I didn't have to heal so much, or have to heal so much. Now I'm more healed. It took 2020 where I had like panic attacks to literally really change me. I started having panic attacks because I was just not focusing on myself. I wasn't focusing on actual living by my actual self.
You know, CJ has those too. My husband, I've remarried. His name is CJ.
Yeah.
I love him dearly, and he has panic attacks. I don't even understand them, but they seem to be horrible.
Yeah, it's in your brain. Most of the time, like we've talked about anxiety on like a couple of our podcasts and stuff. And anxiety is just living in the future, like always worrying about the future. If you do it constantly, you end up spiraling. You end up thinking of something that just hasn't happened yet. And most people that do that end up worrying themselves to death. And then you're constantly in this fight or flight where your heart's constantly racing. And what happens is your heart just gets out of control. And then you can't calm yourself down. And then you can't breathe. And then you start freaking out. Wait, can I breathe? No, I can't breathe. Oh my God, what's going on? Oh my God, I'm dying. And you feel like you're dying. It's the worst feeling in the world. And when I felt that in 2020, 2020, I literally just wanted to just not be around. I couldn't control it. I went to medication first, and I remember my cousin telling me, you gotta focus on yourself. You gotta work on yourself. I didn't know what that meant. And luckily, God, for the love of God, I ran into a podcast, and I ran across a thing by this guy named Ed Milet, and he was talking about your thoughts. And that's literally the turning point in my life. Seeing that YouTube video. I watched it probably 40 times in a row. Now, 90% of your thoughts are the same as it was today as it was the day before. But if you have the ability to take the rest of that 8 or 10% of the thoughts that are positive, you can start manipulating that change. So you have to act by doing, you know what I'm saying? And you have to continuously be working towards what you want to be, even if you don't feel like it. So if you want to feel good, you got to act like you feel good.
I never
give off the good vibes.
I never say I'm sick, right? I never talk negative about myself.
Correct. And that's a true story. Mm-hmm. Like people that feel like they're sick all the time end up being sick more. The human brain and the body know. And if the body feels like it's sick, it's going to start acting like it's sick. It's going to let out stressors. It's going to let out hormones.
When you lie
that
to
are
yourself,
going to make you sick.
When you lie to yourself, body keeps their track record,
Yeah, what is that? The body keeps the score? There's a book.
Yeah.
I have a saying, don't ever talk bad about yourself. There's many people out there that'll do it for you. Did you want to mention that while you're...
Which part? Sorry, I was just laughing.
It's okay. Did you want to mention that in your...
I was going to mention it. Yeah, no, I won't. We're not closed up yet. So I'll get a picture of it. I'll put it on the podcast. But my Lisa brought me a gift. So my grandpa...
It's not really a gift. It's an inheritance.
Oh, inheritance. Okay. So Lisa brought me a watch, an old watch.
Pocket watch.
Pocket watch, old school, that was handed down from generation to generation. So my grandpa just passed away a few weeks ago.
The 30th of last month.
The 30th of last month. And we had the funeral and everything like that. And my grandpa had this pocket watch in his will, it sounds like.
In his home.
In his home.
And it was...
That was...
it was just like this sitting on the... He didn't ever talk to me about it, so...
Yeah, that my great-grandpa gave to my great-great-grandpa, and then my great-grandpa had it, then my grandpa had it, and then Lisa had it, and then now Lisa gave it to me.
Yeah, I want you to have it before I pass, so you know what it's about.
And I'll
find it in whatever.
And I'll keep it. And it actually says, if you read it, I'll pull it out. It's actually quick, Mike. So,
That's just about the watch.
oh yeah, it's just something about the
That's
watch.
what you want to read.
And then it just says it's a picture of, this is pretty crazy.
That's your ancestor. That's your...
This is my great-great-grandpa, Robert Miles Curtis. Photo date year 1919.
Same name as my dad, by the way.
And what's weird is that he actually had the same birthday as me, or the, right? Is that what it says? On his birthday, yeah, May 24th. So
That is weird.
that's my great-great-grandpa's birthday.
It's my great-grandfather, so
Great-great.
it's your great-great-grand.
Right, so that's my great-great-grandpa's birthday, which is the same birthday as me, which I never knew until literally this moment. To whom it may concern, it would be nice to keep this watch in the Curtis family. This watch was given to Robert Miles Curtis on his birthday, 5/24/62, born 1880. From Ben and Elma Curtis, passed on to his son Benjamin M. Curtis, passed on to his son Robert M. Curtis, passed on to daughter Lisa Christine Curtis, passed on to her son Colt Curtis, passed on to his son or daughter of his choosing.
Wasn't that cool he put daughter? Because he was thinking of you.
Oh, yeah, because I have 3 daughters.
Yes.
That's freaking awesome. And it just says, to Dad, love Ben and Alma, 5/24/62. So this has been in the family for a while. It's been down 5 generations.
It's over almost 60 years old.
Yeah.
Is it 62? 62 years old?
I'm no math person, but when you think about
62.
generations, that's like, what, 3 generations at least?
More than that. It's 5 generations.
5 generations. That's crazy.
And I will keep it until I think it's necessary or I have someone that I can give it to.
There you go.
Man,
And then I will pass it on.
cool. This is so cool.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Man, I think that could
What
be
are you,
the first thing that goes up there.
I had a couple more questions. There might be people out there that are saying, because we all come from different walks of life.
Right.
You know, your walk of life might be more politically independent, Democratic, maybe. Mine might be more independent, Republican-ish. Yours might be more Republican. I'm not really sure where everyone stands.
Right.
Even religious-wise, like I'm Christian. I don't know your guys' views. We all come from different walks of lives. You know, I'm heterosexual. I don't know your take. I don't know your take. I know that we all come from different backgrounds, but the way the world is right now is it's so broken.
It is.
And it's so broken on just one thing, and that's just hate for each other for no reason. And if you got to know Lisa, which I know a lot better now, believe it or not, what would you know? What would you find in common with Lisa besides the gender part and the difference in that? Like, what would you know? You wouldn't have. But now that you got to know Lisa, how do you think about Lisa? How do you think about Lisa's background? Like, how did you know that Lisa has all this stuff? Like, Lisa has multiple licenses that most people don't have. Lisa is a veteran that served this country. Lisa was served honorably as a law enforcement officer.
She's done it all. She's done it all.
Like, she did it all. Like, how many of you guys could say that she did all this stuff?
Lisa for
Seriously.
president,
You know,
2024.
and it's funny because it's so funny because when I was going to talk in Grandpa's funeral, I was going to talk about the generations.
Sorry, there wasn't that opportunity.
No, there was no time for it. But if I had talked, I always considered myself the black sheep of the 4 generations. So my great,
Stop. No, you're not.
not in a bad way. I just wanted to be different. Like,
You are different.
I was
We're all
just
different.
I was a wild man, you know, and I get that from you.
Your Uncle Ben was wild.
Because you're the same as me. We're the same in a lot. Even, Lisa had worked for us years ago when I needed some help. And she has a Class A, and she drove for us. And she's like, yeah, wherever you want me to go, go. Boom, take
Just more
off.
clear, I have a Class B. I had a Class A with work for
Oh, yeah, you let it.
So I let it lapse for reasons you don't need to know. But I have a
Okay.
B.
No problem.
I don't want the people out in the land that see this and say, she does not have an A.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I don't think anyone cares. But I just remember, we're so the same. Like, I'm the same. Like, I'm always, it's always playing a game with myself. And I feel like we have
I do
to...
too.
Yeah, I play a game. Okay, can I get there at this time, at this exact time, and stop? It's funny because you see the relations and you see the relatable similarities. And sorry if my words are off today.
So,
But we have so much in common, and that makes me feel connection.
good.
And to this day, I can honestly say that, like, at first it was hard to go places with Lisa because I wasn't sure about what people would think when I was younger. But now, I don't give a shit. I even brought Lisa to church a few weeks ago. And if anyone would have said anything to me, I would have stood up for Lisa and I would have said, nope, that's my family.
It was a good experience.
It was a really good experience. We were together. And that's where the healing comes from, and that's how we find acceptance.
Was this Justin's church?
Justice, yeah.
Justice, right?
Pastor
Shout out to Justice.
Yeah. Great guy, by the way. Love ain't lies, guys. So I'm glad that Lisa came out. I'm glad that Lisa told us. I wish that you felt healing sooner. I do, because of how much I love you. And I'm not upset anymore. I don't feel, I'm glad that the things happened the way that they did because God used me as a servant. Now I'm a servant. Now I have a history and he put me through that because he wants me to help other people. And that's what I'm here for. And if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be doing this. So technically you made me better and you made me a better man than you probably could have if you had raised me the normal way. And I think that everyone has a life and you were able to find yourself through all of this and you were able to get to where you were at. And I'm proud of you for that. And I'm proud of myself finally. And I've forgiven myself. I have a lot of work to do still. I'm definitely not fully healed.
It's always work in progress.
Yeah.
Always.
But I'm definitely proud of the man I'm becoming.
Right on.
Because there was a long time ago that I wouldn't have listened to me. But now I would listen to me. Because I'll never want to be a person that can't listen to myself. Like I want to be able to look up to myself. And I got to be that version of myself that I could listen to. That's what helps me heal, is to be my true actual self. Everything I say, the way that I feel, the way that I communicate now, the way that I act is all who I really am. I don't hide it from nobody. I ain't afraid to tell anybody who I really am. I ain't afraid to tell people who my dad is, who Lisa is, how proud of Lisa I am. I'm not afraid to tell them who my mom is. I'm not afraid to tell them about my background. I used to be afraid of telling people even other stuff that you didn't know, like how my whole family was obese and diabetic for the most part, how they were all poor.
Even I didn't know.
Well, I was embarrassed.
I knew them longer than you did.
I know. I used to just be like almost embarrassed.
I lived with your family. Your mom and I lived with them when we were between homes.
I was just, it was a struggle for me because I didn't want to be like that. I don't want to be like that. And I felt like that was that was who I was going to be.
We learn from experiences.
Yeah. But now I know that I don't have to choose that life. But I'm proud of the family that I had because my grandparents were there for me so much when I was younger.
They were wonderful.
My family never had any money.
And Richard.
So poor. But they always made it work, man. They always made it work. And I wish to this day, man, I could give them everything that I have. I wish I could take them and I wish I could, have these big family dinners that we could never afford and buy them gifts and stuff because I can afford it now and stuff. And those are some things that I wish. I wish I had more of those. But now I can create that with my own family. And now I can live that life, that honest life, that healed life so that my kids don't have to repeat that journey. And that was my goal in 2020 after I started healing. I started listening to podcasts, seeking healing and reading books from, the ancient philosophers and stuff like that. I started seeing healing from that.
Just so you know, your reading is not for me. I hate reading.
I know. I struggle with it too.
He reads for us.
I was a TV kid.
I read for us.
Yeah.
Because if not, he'll choke me out. So, but I don't know, man. That's just what it is.
That's awesome.
What would you say to anyone that's out there that's confused at this point, younger, older? What would you say about people that are struggling with who they are? And it might not even be just being a transgender. It might be just anything. It could be anything. Like, what do you say to somebody? Like, what would you say different? If you could take it all back, what would you have done different?
What would I do different? I couldn't honestly give that answer because who knows, right? I don't have a good answer to that question. But what I would say to people struggling with whatever issues they're struggling with, please talk to somebody. Don't keep it inside. Keeping whatever it is that you're struggling with inside, it just keeps growing and getting worse, and it can be the destruction of you. So seek out help, whatever that help may be. Could it be church? Could it be psychological help? Could it be a friend, family? I can't tell you which and where to go. Just talk to somebody. Don't keep it inside, okay? I kept a lot of things inside of me for so many years, and it just tore me apart, all right? And that's where I...
And if anyone's out there struggling with this, could they reach out to you?
Of course.
Okay.
Just contact Colt. He knows how to get a hold of me. I would be more than willing to talk to anybody about my walk. All we can talk about is what we've experienced, right? I love people. I love talking to people. So, yeah, of course. If it helps you, if you feel that you are comfortable by watching this, to talk to me, by all means.
And contact you on your Facebook or something.
Sure.
Lisa.
In any
Oscar.
fashion that they can get a hold of me, by all means. And I assure you that I will respond.
The reason why I say that is because there's a lot of military people
Yeah.
and former people
Thank
that
you,
have trauma.
everybody who has done that.
Yeah, well, you're in the same boat.
I know, but
Yeah, we're
look
all
after
thankful.
each other, right?
Right. And I think some people reach out to me because they're in the same boat and they think that I resonate with them because it's easier to reach out to someone that's relatable.
Right.
Because when I used to talk about like being overseas and stuff like that, I never wanted to talk to just like I remember the VA sent me to someone that never had a deployment. And
Right.
I was like, who are you?
Right. And that,
I can't talk to you. Like you don't.
There's no common ground.
Oh, that's
no
a good
common
point to make. Okay. My father and myself were fortunate, and I mean fortunate, to be between conflicts. You weren't so fortunate. Okay. So my deployment is a lot different than yours. I was stationed in Europe during times of peace for the most part.
Right.
I never had to take a gun out to defend myself outside of the military, or where the armory was, where I protected them. But I never had to go in harm's way, per se. Now, not to say I could have been. I was there ready to go in Europe, but it never happened to me. So people like yourself and others out there that have really put themselves out on the line, I just can't thank you all enough. And I'm sorry that you've experienced those horrible things that you have. And I hope that you're able to heal from those things.
Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate that. But it's funny because all the stuff I experienced that I wanted to experience, I never really got a really good chance to. I mean, yeah, there was some things that happened here and there, but it wasn't to the extreme level to where I thought it was going to be. I think God spared me. I think God put me in a little bit. He's like, okay, my son, I need you to be my offering later to help people. And that's your gift.
Right.
Because I believe that life is about finding your gift and then giving it away for free. That's what I believe life's about. And that's what I tell people. And then I tell people all the time, you have to find your why. Because if you know the why, then you can find the how. Because a lot of people say, well, how am I going to get out of this? Well, what's your why? Well, my why for me is my kids. So if my why is my kids, then I'm going to figure out a way to make whatever it is happen. The how is easier once you know your why. So going back to what I was saying, I totally lost my train of thought right there. Oh my God.
I'm sorry.
Talking about that. No, you're good. What was I saying?
Jay, you lost me too. I don't know.
You asked me about what I had to say to anybody out there. I don't know if that helps you remember what you were trying to say, but
I totally blanked.
so how would you, as my son, say to people that are dealing with a parent or a loved one that is going through what I went through?
Oh, it's a good question. I've never been asked a question on my own podcast before. That's awesome. I think that if you're somebody that's dealing with something similar, and maybe you just experienced it, maybe you have a recollection that this might be a thing, or I think the best thing to do is just to ask the question to the parent and then tell them that you accept them for who they are, because it's better to accept them for who they are and love them for who they are than love them for who they're not, right? I don't want to live my life full of lies. Love ain't lies. If you really love somebody, you ain't going to lie to them. Whether you're trying to help them or change them, you can't do that. So if there's a time where you can help them transition or get through whatever it is that they need to get through, I think the only thing that you can do as a child is just be there for your parent. So I'll tell you something right now. Any struggle that I've ever been to, the best healing I ever had come from was when my daughters came up to me and said, Dad, it's going to be okay. It's like just the best. It's like instantly melt and like I feel at ease and I comfort and my heart stops hurting, all that pressure on my chest.
Cool.
And it's always been my daughters, man. So I live for them. I don't lie to them. I tell them the truth. I'm always present. I learned from what not to do.
Yes, sir.
And I'm not the best parent. I struggle at it often because I'm a dad of 3 girls.
Yeah.
So I had to learn empathy. I had to learn about understanding feelings, and I had to learn the unwritten rule of dealing with human beings, especially teenagers now, And so I'm gifted to have you there for that, because I know that I bounce things off of you, and you're there for me. Even now, you're there for me more now than you ever were. And I'm thankful for that. And I wouldn't change that for the world.
Me too.
And I'm grateful for everything that's happened. But as a kid, if you're out there, if you're someone that's out there that's struggling with something like this, or you're going through it, obviously you can reach out to me and relate. I have friends that, found out that their brothers or sisters were gay. And I know they've hidden that for a while, and they have a relation to me. It's not always just transgender or anything like that. And they, people just don't know, and they don't know how to deal with it, because maybe they think that you're going to judge them. So they relate to me on a different level, because maybe I look like, a manly man or something. And they're like, well, if he can deal with it, then I can ask him for how he's dealing with it. And the best way to deal with it is just know that that's not who you are, but that's your family. And I grew up Italian. So Italians know that your family is not a choice. Like you don't get to choose who your family is. If people come over and they're presented as like, hey, this is my person, this is my partner, whatever it is, however that may be, that's your family. And we support each other, and we back each other up, and we feed each other. We sit down and we break bread together. Mm-hmm. And that's what we do. And if you're out there, try to find acceptance through healing. Ask them questions. Try to understand. What is it that you feel? Like, why do you feel that way? Well, I've just always felt that way. Okay. All right, well, I want you to live who you really are, because I want you to be your actual self. Because the more actual self that they become, the better off they could be to you as a person, and the more healing that you'll actually get from that. Because then they could be their true self. You see what I'm saying? You'll get more love out of it. You'll get more healing. The more hate that you feel inside it's just damaging. Like, you get over it by trying to feel love.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Man,
it's a lot. It's a lot for today.
Yeah, it's a lot for today. Maybe there's a part 2 later on we get through. I feel like
I got to get back to pick up my kids pretty quick here. So
I know. I forgot you took off work today just to come here. Well, I appreciate it. You coming by. I want you to know that I have truly appreciated all this. I have healed as an individual. I think you feel it by the way that I communicate with you now.
Yes,
it doesn't bother me at all. I'm thankful for who you are. I appreciate who you are. I'm not afraid to say that you're my dad. I'm not afraid to say that you're my parent. I've come a long way since
we all have some.
And I'm sorry for the times that I lost with you, because we did lose a lot of time together. I wouldn't talk to you. But now, I just want to make up that time. And I love you.
I love you.
You too. Anything else, Professor?
No, that's awesome. Thank you guys for letting me be here as a third, as a witness to this moment between two people. It's cool. Thank you.
Amen to that, man. And praise God for bringing us all together.
Amen.
And keeping the idea of choosing relevant, that we get to choose every day to have a relationship. We have a relational relationship. It's not transactional. I'm blessed for that. And Lisa will always be there for me. I know that at the end of time. And I will always be there for Lisa.
Thank you.
Until next time, guys, get up, get after it, and get some.